Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1294, April 24th, 2024. 84 degrees on this day in 1962. 24 degrees on this day back in 1875. There was no Aquacide in 1875. It might have been just developing in 1962 because Aquacide has been keeping Great Lake shores free of weeds and algae for more than 60 years. I talked to a guy yesterday who has a place on Balsam Lake. He uses Aquacide, and he said to me, as though he should be surprised, he said, "It works."
Huh.
I said, "I know it works. That's why we talk about it." That's a complete line of pond and control products that take care of your beach and your swimming area. The products are easy to use. They work quickly. They're effective. They're registered with the EPA and DNR. There's no needs to let weeds
Thank you, Clem.
overtake your lake or ponds.
Sounds like
this
a
summer.
Welter ad, doesn't it?
Call Aquacide, explain your problem. They'll get you the right products. Call Aquacide at 1-800-328-9350. Excuse me.
Perfect health.
Or go to aquacide.com. And of course, Aquacide brings us the ice outs. Minnetonka went out on this day, April 24th, in 1899, 1924, 1996, and 2014. I love that stability of nature that it went out on this day in 1899 and as recently as 2014. White Bear went out on this day in 1996.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
I got a note from former state rep Tony Juergens, who was disappointed in our show yesterday.
Why?
That we glossed over the news of DFL Senator Nicole Mitchell.
Yeah, that wasn't by accident.
No, we determined that based on what we knew at the time, there was nothing to gain by pointing out what might have been a very problematic situation, a personal situation. But her story has changed a number of times. And what also has come into focus, and that could have come into focus yesterday, if she loses her seat and a Republican can replace her, we can bust up the trifecta. The Senate would have a Republican majority if she could be replaced by a Republican, which I think is all the more reason we can watch now as the DFL will absolutely go to the mat to keep her in place. Yes.
I love that idea. That would be wonderful to me. But aren't we a little early on jumping on that bandwagon and start, getting the pitchforks going and the
No, you're not early because
it seems like we are,
the,
Joe. It seems really greasy to me.
Well, members of the Senate are saying her behavior is unethical, not fitting I'm sorry, it's politics. It's a dirty, rotten game. If this had been a Republican, the Democrats would be saying the same thing.
I like to think of myself as better than them.
We're not. And people thought we weren't talking about it because we're not. We're just as bad as anyone. People thought we weren't talking about it because she was a former meteorologist at Channel 5. That had nothing to do with our dismissing it.
We used to rip Dave Dahl when he was on the air.
Right. And so, but her story keeps changing, and she has got herself in a bit of a jam here. You don't go check on a loved one at 4:30 in the morning dressed in a black outfit.
You don't do that.
I don't think
and go through the sliding basement door that was open.
Right. I mean, that's how, that's.
I don't even have a cat burglar outfit. So
either do I.
You guys got to get with the times.
I've got mine on. Actually.
I heard she did walk into the house, and then the first thing she says was, "Kato,
No, she didn't do that.
Nice reference.
Thank you.
She claimed her father passed away recently. Well, he died more than a year ago. And his obituary mentions that he was married to Nicole's stepmother for 40 years. And I'm not going to get into what's between Nicole Mitchell and her stepmother. I don't know anything about it, except I'm urgently hoping that this costs her seat. I know that's premature. You have to have trials. You're innocent until proven guilty. I'm aware of all that. But just keep in mind, if there was a Republican-dominated Senate by one vote, and one of them was caught at the lake cabin sneaking around in the basement dressed up like the Pink Panther, you'd be hearing a hue and cry to get rid of that person.
Immediately.
Yes, you in the back.
Since we're playing this game, and I'm glad you're going down this road, what do we make of the fact that most of the local publications did not use her mugshot? Only one did. Because had it been a Republican, that would have been the only photo that would have been used is the mugshot.
And the only thing I have to say about the mugshot is it doesn't look like the rest of her photographs.
Well, she was incognito.
Well, no, she was probably stressed out or whatever. It didn't look like her.
Right.
Now, as long as we're talking about her, she has come up on this show before. She was a champion,
recently too.
She was a champion of some sort of climate change hysteria and getting the kids on board or whatever it was. I don't know the woman. I never met her, even when she was here as a meteorologist.
You didn't see her in the cafeteria, maybe sharing lunch?
I never did. Okay. I never did. And but I do hope that she loses her seat. I'm sorry, that's the way we got to play this game now. And the state could stop the bleeding if we get a Republican-controlled state Senate. The bleeding might at least stop.
Right.
Can we just talk? Let's just talk a bit, just for a second. Let's defend ourselves and talk about our approach to this. It broke on Monday. We found out about it while we were doing the program. We opted at that time not to talk about it because no details were known, and it had the appearance of somebody hitting rock bottom. It looked really bad. And all five of us decided no.
Yep.
Then Reavers, you want to say something?
No, go ahead. Just finish your
Day
thought.
2, Tuesday, the story had changed. Now we're hearing that there's a rift in the family and they're not getting along. And this just sounded sad and pathetic. And
which is why we still said no.
Yeah. We didn't think all the details were out, and it just sounded really pathetic. And everybody was jumping on this bandwagon trying to oust her right away.
Yep.
So I think we did the right thing again. And we waited until today when the story has changed once again.
We did use it as a news story.
Above the crazy line, we have the danger zone. This is your redheads, your strippers, anyone named Tiffany.
Former meteorologists.
This is hairdressers. This is where your car gets keyed. You get a bunny in the pot. Your tires get slashed, and you wind up in jail.
Okay. All right. My only opinion is I hope she gets bounced from the legislature.
Well, if she doesn't, then what does that say about us?
No, the DFL is going to go to the mattresses and fight for her.
Aaron Murphy was already walking on eggshells for her.
Yeah.
They already are, yeah.
Were you going to say something earlier, John?
I was just going to say we did use it on the second day, but just as a straight news story.
With
the info that was available.
Yep. So I think we did the right thing, and I don't feel any shame at all.
Before we get to my fascination with tents, I really thought a lot about tents.
Boy, bring back the United stores, huh?
I've developed a new theory about the failed academy. It's based on two stories. One, Becca Thompson wrote a guest editorial today in the Star Tribune, attempting to answer some questions about her firing at South High. It was an interesting piece. It was well written. And she said in there, let me find the key sentence that instantly in my mind created my new theory.
I love new theories.
Or my new awareness. Might take me a moment. And the other story is the story that's playing out in the Anoka Hennepin School District, where 3 members of the Anoka School Board are refusing to vote to approve the budget because of all the BS they're discovering that these kids have to be taught with the new DEI stuff mandated by the State Department of Education, including anti-capitalism. Well, why should the kids be taught anti-capitalism, diversity and inclusion, and all this other BS? And that helped me write my theory. Let's see if I can find. Okay. This is Becca Thompson, somewhat deep into the piece she wrote. I view her betrayal differently. I view the betrayal as adults entrusted with protecting and educating children, preferring the path of least resistance to assure their position and paycheck stayed in place. Administrators in the Minneapolis public schools make about $220,000 a year. That's more than the mayor. Keep your head low. Make it divestment, and you're set for life. Bad administrators don't get fired. They get reassigned. They get promoted. Okay, my theory took off at that point. You combine that with this nonsense that all schools have to endure, these social studies mandates where they have to learn.
New theory.
The failed academy has created a curriculum that is flunk-proof in order to continue to graduate people to make it look like they're actually doing their job. Then they get to keep their paycheck.
Do it again.
The failed academy is created right here in Minnesota at the high school level, flunk-proof curriculums that allow and I'm not ripping teachers. There's, as Becca Thompson illustrated for us, there are many teachers who want to teach and are good at it. But the administration is pathetic. The Department of Education is pathetic. And they've gone down this road of not teaching disciplines, but accommodating feelings. And you can't flunk those. Therefore, you get to graduate. Therefore, I look good on paper to the people in the State House who are running this thing, and I don't get canned. I continue to get my paycheck, and I got 3 years left to retirement, and I'll get a nice fat pension. They have created an environment in the schools where you'd really, there's no way you can flunk any of this BS. Right. You just can't flunk it. That's my theory.
Or if you're touchy-feely, you don't have to go through it. We'll work around it.
That's my theory.
I think it's solid. And Becca and teachers like her will say to a student, you will fail this course if you don't, turn around and act right.
Speaking of Anoka, Hennepin schools, I give you 60 seconds of our girl, Coffee Matska.
Oh.
Can't hear it at all.
Black kids need to know what our ancestors have endured through slavery and Jim Crow. They can thrive too. The budget is as it currently stands has hopeless, divisive messages, and I'm thankful for the school board members who are standing against them.
Did she go up to Winoka to testify?
Yes, she did.
Well, it's fantastic. And what happened in Anoka is 3 people, I don't know if they're GLers or not, but they have the sensibility of GLers. They put their mouth where their money was. No, they put their money where their mouth was, and they ran for the school board and they won. And they ran to stop this crap. And now they don't. The administration, which wants flunk-proof curriculum, they don't want these guys out, or women and men. Yes.
give John and I the basics of what she said. We didn't hear one word of that.
No,
I
couldn't hear it
wonder
at all.
why. Well, that was
She was upset that they were putting a stop to it, and they the students need to know about the Jim Crow history and all that other.
She said, let's celebrate the accomplishments that have occurred in this country and not keep talking about the trauma. And you have three guys led by board treasurer Matthew Audette calling on fellow board members to make changes to these policies and curricula. And I'm sure the administration is terrified of this because it puts them back into the role of having to govern school the way we would know school.
Mhm.
And they don't want to do that.
Right.
Let me link here, Joe,
Yeah.
with what you just said that she said. I'm going to go to Becca's piece, second to last paragraph. Kids want us to believe in them. They don't want to be constantly reminded of their hardship. The best educators create an environment where learning becomes play and structure becomes safety, where we take our experiences and release them, well, in this case, she said, into song. But I get her point.
You can, there are certainly teachers to celebrate, and they're trying. But you can dismiss the administrations. You can dismiss the board of the Minnesota education. These people that come on begging for money all the time. They're pathetic. They're lost. They've ruined public education. The academy has failed. They've ruined it for their own selfish reasons. All they got to do is hang on, get their check, get their pension.
Right.
They're out of there. In the meantime, the kids are graduated not knowing how to spell cat, but they know all about racial BS, you know. It's just pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. Now, let's move on to protests and my fascination with tents.
You like those yurt style tents, don't you?
I called Reavers this morning and gave him an assignment.
Find me a tent.
I said, get your butt to the U of M and walk through there and ask, for, say, hey, where do I get my tent?
Well, you first said, pretend you're a college student. I
Yeah.
had to remind him, it's been a couple years.
Okay, but I wanted you to just,
What time does a liquor store open?
because we have the same color tents at the U that I've seen in photographs.
These are blue and white.
Yeah. And I'd like to know where you're getting the tents. I don't know of any college kid in my experience who's brought a tent to school.
Couple of observations.
So anyway, you went to the U, you
Yep.
parked your car, you got out. What happened?
Not much to choose from as far as parking. However, when I got out, I wanted to be close enough so that my car wasn't towed. I talked to a couple of kids. None of them knew where the kids got their tents from. I did see a tiny setup between Apple Way Hall and Northrop, right by the river road there.
All right.
Here's the other observation. Boy, these kids are dumb. Secondly,
Yeah. Well, they've come through a curriculum that doesn't expect much of them.
I think this is a general observation. This seemed more like this is where we're supposed to be today, as opposed to we're really here to fight for a cause.
Oh, sure.
And the other part, though, that I told Joe earlier, Ken, when I was coming back to Hubbard, I went down River Road because you can't go on Washington anymore because it's now the light rail, so you can't cut up that way anymore. There was a huge group of kids that I'm assuming were there for either orientation or they're visiting to see if they want to come here next year as high school seniors. And there was parents involved. So I rolled my window down and there was a couple of staff members. I said, hey, where's the protest at? And the frantic look by the staff members, because you could tell
You're such a bastard.
the kids that were there had no idea what I was talking about. But I thought that got a good reaction.
Are you saying that for a lot of the college kids, the protest was like when the Twins won the World Series and we all just kind of gravitated downtown to live it up?
And because of that,
Okay, but that is to make light of a far more insidious means behind this.
maybe,
Yeah.
but I will give you example A. This is a protester at NYU that came down from Columbia, and she was asked why she was here protesting 30 seconds.
And what would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU's doing.
Is there something that NYU's doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're... Do you know what NYU's doing? About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free!
I wish I was more educated. I'm not either.
Oh.
I came from Columbia. I was there up at Columbia, and we came down. They said NYU students needed our support. So I came down.
Protesting on behalf of Palestine, in and of itself, isn't insidious. Not every Palestinian's a terrorist, and I don't trust these kids as far as I can throw them to be knowledgeable enough about that. But Palestinian people are people just like the rest of us, and they're not all bent on killing me. The terrorist aspect of them are. And so what has to be watched in this country is, do these protests morph into support for terrorism?
Sure.
Supporting Palestine is one thing.
What does that mean, supporting Palestine?
Well,
mean,
they
why do I
want
have
their
to choose?
They want their autonomy. They don't want to be under the thumb of Israel. They don't want to be controlled by Israel.
Did they vote for Hamas?
Yes, but their response to that and their means of bringing that about has been terrorism. Now, the kids who want to say, Palestine, leave Palestine alone, that's okay. That's part of growing up. You'll learn. But if you cross the line and you begin to support terrorism, that's where this whole thing will go south in this country. You want me to take a break? I'm just getting fired up.
I don't think they're smart enough to know that, Joe. I think we're dealing with a whole lot of Hanlon's razor here.
You
I think
really
these
are.
kids are idiots.
Yes.
I'm seeing the same effect that we had during the Minneapolis riots, where people are rolling in from Fargo and Eau Claire and Ames, Iowa, and they're just coming to be part of, a raucous, fun movement.
But to Hamas and jihadists, they're terribly useful idiots if they can
Without a
get them
doubt.
to condone the terrorism.
Right.
Now, I'm pleased to note that Ilhan Omar's daughter, Isra Hersey, appears to have been nourished.
Okay, good.
She was stricken with hunger, but we're now learning that the Columbia protesters had a buffet set out for them with $12 croissants, packs of organic snacks, bakery takeouts, and condiments. Students pledged not to leave until Columbia halts Israel-linked investments. But they're sustaining themselves.
Okay,
They do have food.
They have morsels.
Yeah.
That's Ivy League
Right.
craft services.
Oh, it is.
We don't buy croissants in my house because they're outrageously expensive.
And you can't spell it.
The Daily, I can't.
Or
Now,
say
I
it.
spent a lot of time looking up croissants. DailyMail.com gained access to the Gaza Solidarity encampment. I found it on other sites as well, which occupied the South Lawn, where approximately 100 tents have been pitched. I would love to know where the tents came from.
Right.
You don't bring a tent to
I wouldn't.
college.
I know I have a tent somewhere, but I don't know where it is.
You focus on the funny. You have to find out.
Within the bustling encampment, DailyMail.com reporters spotted packs of organic snacks, bakery takeouts, condiment stands scattered across tables, forming a makeshift canteen and buffet amidst the tents. Sanitizer wipes were readily available, with a sign on the bottle urging attendees to keep each other safe and wipe hands after touching nuts. Well, that's always a good idea.
Right.
D's nuts?
D's. Some of the protesters ordered a bag of fresh bakery goods from the chic restaurant La Pain Quotidienne, where avocado toast is priced at $14 and orange juice is $15. Nearly half. Okay, then I have to get to a poll, but I better appease Reavers and take a break here.
Thank you.
And tell you that, just a minute. What
What are you
going to
tell me over there?
Well, I'm
Are
gonna
you
tell
coming back to this? Because I've got a lot of
yes,
questions.
I've got a lot of material on this. I think it's very important that we keep parsing this